watching this video here.
There are places where history is written, and others in where it gets buried. Not because it wasn't real, but because it was. In Maryland, it's not the ghosts you should fear. It's the places the government won't talk about. The tunnels sealed with no explanation. The files that end mid-sentence. The voices that follow you even after you go home. Whispers in the forests. Warnings beneath the floor. Lights over the bay that no one can explain. They say some doors were never meant to be opened. They sealed them for a reason. But tonight, till we open them. So unlock your doors, put on your headphones, and pull that blanket up tight. Because after this video, you'll never see Maryland the same way again. The tunnel beneath Fort Meade, restricted for a reason. Some places keep secrets above ground, others bury them deep. Fort Meade, most people know it as the headquarters of the NSA, a place of antennas, satellites, and secrets. But what most don't know is that what's above ground is only half the story. Beneath Fort Meade, sealed off, erased from public maps, are tunnels, long, narrow, and for the past 60 years, completely restricted. The first rumors surfaced in 1957. Construction workers reported being reassigned, mid-project, with no explanation. Engineers claim blueprints were altered after the concrete was poured. Entire corridors vanished from the plans. And then, people stopped asking, because people started disappearing. In 1964, a civilian contractor named Harold Gibbons was hired for electrical work on a classified wing. He checked in at 7:02 a.m. His badge registered entering sub-level 3 Corridor C. He never checked out. No body, no trace, nothing. The report simply reads, personnel file closed, case terminated, classified under Executive Order 12586. Families were told he resigned. Co-workers knew better, because weeks later his tools were found, neatly stacked against a sealed steel door. That wasn't there the day before. It wasn't the only case. Between 1960 and 1981, at least 7 civilian contractors and 3 military personnel vanished in or near the lower corridors. Official explanation? Misconduct, AWOL, resignation. But every single one that was last seen heading toward the same section. A hallway now sealed by 16 inches of reinforced concrete. In 1997, a whistleblower, codename Echo 9, leaked internal maintenance logs. It confirmed what many feared. There's an entire section of Fort Meade labeled "No Access Command Override Required" in documents dated as recently as 1996. Purpose? Unknown. Destination? Classified. The logs describe pressure doors welded shut, air circulation patterns not matching above ground structures, sensors detecting motion in sealed corridors. Echo 9's last message read, "I've seen the plans. Whatever's down there isn't supposed to come up." And then he disappeared. Account deleted. Vanished. Engineers who've studied satellite imagery claim the ground beneath Fort Meade is unnaturally warm in certain areas, consistent with underground systems still operating. But there's no ventilation, no entryways, no public access. It's as if the tunnels were never meant to be opened again, or they're still very much in use. And then there's the audio. In 2008, an urban explorer intercepted a scrambled radio signal near the perimeter fence. When cleaned up, the recording revealed distant metal clanging, low-frequency hums, and something else. A voice, not speaking English, not any known language, just a rhythmic sequence of clicks, knocks, and breathing. It lasted 17 seconds. Then, static. The frequency? 412.31 minutes. A band not allocated to any public or military service. No one could trace the source. No one tried again. Today, Fort Meade's public-facing image is clean. A base, a place of data. But ask anyone who's worked near Building G12. They'll tell you the walls vibrate at night. The air feels heavier near the south fence, and sometimes you can hear something moving under the concrete. A former security officer put it this way: there's a reason they buried it, and it's not because of what's in there. It's because of what's waiting, if it ever gets out. Some secrets are buried beneath concrete. Others vanish into the trees, where the sound cuts out and the trails lead nowhere. And deep in Patapsco Valley, The silence isn't natural. The disappearances in Patapsco Valley, where the trails go silent. Some forests whisper, others go completely silent. Patapsco Valley State Park, 17,000 acres of forest, cliffs, rivers, and endless trails. Families come here for hikes, campers come for the views. But the locals, they come here carefully or say they don't come at all, because in Patapsco there's a part of the forest where the trail markers just stop, and sometimes so do the people walking them. The first recorded case was in 1943. A young couple, Henry and Laura Spencer, were last seen entering the Soapstone Trail. Search teams found their campsite fully intact, tent zipped, food untouched, campfire cold, but fresh. What wasn't there was them. No blood, no footprints beyond the last turn, just nothing. In 1961, a Boy Scout troop was on a day hike. They left in formation, 12 kids, 2 adults. An hour in, they did a head count. One boy was gone. No one heard anything. No footsteps, no scream. The boy was walking in the middle of the group, literally between 2 others. When they turned around, he was just not there. Search dogs were brought in. They followed his scent to a bend in the trail where the grass was flattened as if someone had stood there for a while. Beyond that point, the trail continued, but the scent didn't. These weren't isolated. Between 1974 and 2002, there were 9 documented disappearances in Patapsco. All had the same pattern. No sign of struggle, no belongings disturbed, no sound before or after. And when search teams entered certain sections, radios failed, compasses spun, even GPS units froze or restarted without warning. In 2013, a group of 3 hikers reported something different. As they walked the Grist Mill Trail, the sounds of the forest faded. First the birds, then the wind, then their own footsteps. One of them said, "It was like walking into a vacuum. I could hear my own heartbeat, but not my steps. Even my voice felt wrong." They turned back. 2 minutes later, the sound returned, all at once. When they checked their phones, all 3 showed the wrong time. Not a few minutes, almost 2 hours ahead. Park rangers dismiss it as misnavigation, fatigue, or natural anomalies, but they don't hike that side of the park after dark. Not officially, not alone, because the whispers aren't the problem. It's the moments when even the whispers stop. In 2020, drone footage from an amateur explorer showed something else. A section of forest where, on the video, the trees seem to bend inward, like the entire area is collapsing toward itself. Locals call it the fold. There's no sign, no map, just a section of trail where GPS glitches, sound dies, and people disappear. One search and rescue officer, when asked if they believed the rumors, said, "I don't believe in ghosts. I believe in places that don't want to be found." And the worst part? The state park never officially closed those trails. There's no warning sign, no barrier, just a choice. Step forward or don't. Some places swallow footsteps, others swallow prayers. And high on the cliffs of Maryland, there's a place built to bless the living. But somewhere along the way, it started blessing the dead. Welcome to the Hell House. The Hell House altar, a church that wasn't meant to bless. Some buildings were made to bless the living. This one forgot how. High above the Patapsco River, hidden among trees and crumbling stone, the ruins of St. Mary's College still stand. Locals don't call it by its real name anymore. They call it Hell House. At first glance, it looks like any other abandoned place. Graffiti, rust, broken walls. But there's one part that never fully crumbled. The altar, a skeletal frame of iron and concrete, standing alone, like it's waiting for something. The first reports of strange activity came right after the college closed in 1972. Hikers heard chanting. Locals found burned animals arranged in precise circles. Police received reports of hooded figures gathering at midnight. None of them were ever caught. But the story gets worse. In 1981, 2 teenagers went missing after sneaking in at night. Their car was found parked at the trailhead, flashlights inside, keys on the seat. Search teams found their footprints leading into the ruins, but not coming out. No bodies, no signs of struggle, just gone. Locals whisper that the altar isn't just a relic, it's a gate. Multiple visitors report the same phenomenon. Whispers from behind the walls when there are no walls left. Footsteps following them on gravel. That isn't there. Seeing a shadow move between columns, only to realize the shadow was the size of a person, but standing where no floor exists. In 1996, a group of amateur ghost hunters spent the night recording audio. What they captured wasn't voices. It was something worse. A high-pitched mechanical sound, like metal being dragged across concrete, followed by a deep, rhythmic thumping, like footsteps, but too heavy to be human. They left before dawn. When they got home, they found scratches, deep parallel marks, running down the sides of their cars. No explanation, no fingerprints, nothing on the cameras. Visitors consistently report a single phrase appearing on the altar, sometimes scratched, sometimes spray painted. It never left. No one knows who started writing it, but it's always there. Even when someone paints over it, it comes back. In 2009, a man hiking near the ruins slipped and broke his leg. He called 911. Rescue teams traced the call to a location half a mile away from the ruins. When they arrived, he wasn't there. He was found 3 days later, lying directly beneath the altar, unconscious, dehydrated, but alive. The rescue logs note something bizarre. Subject's footprints do not match location found. Path to subject impassable by foot. There's no official investigation into the site. No warnings posted. But if you ask the local police quietly, they'll admit one thing. We stopped going up there after dark. Not because of people, because of what's not supposed to be there. The Hell House isn't just a ruin. It's a memory that refuses to collapse. Some structures hold memories. Others hold echoes, and not far from here, there's a bridge. Wooden, old covered. And if you cross it at night, you'll hear the sound of something swinging from the rafters, even when there's nothing there.
Try Nature Made. Made with quality, made to care for you every day.
We got our first golf trip. Ryan Fitzpatrick is coming up to hang with us. We're doing spring training with your team and our big match. Oh my God!
Co-pilot, make us anime style.
The voices at Jericho-covered bridge, echoes that follow you home.
Wait, this is the one I've been to.
Some ghosts chase you, others just watch you pass. Jericho-covered bridge, built in 1865. From a distance, it's beautiful, historic, timeless. But when the sun drops below the trees, it stops feeling like a bridge and starts feeling like a trap. Locals tell the story the same way. If you cross it at night, roll your windows down and listen, because you won't hear cars, you won't hear wind, you'll hear the ropes. First reported in 1893, a traveler on horseback claimed to hear something swinging, a rhythmic creak, as if a rope were swaying from the beams above. When he looked up, he saw nothing, but the sound didn't stop. In 1947, 2 teenagers were parked under the bridge at night. They heard a voice, a woman whispering, not words, just a breath, a broken exhale. They turned on the car. The engine died. When the lights flickered, they saw it, a figure hanging, neck broken, but only for a moment. Then, gone. Dozens of reports followed. Truckers, hikers, park rangers, all describing the same details. A creaking rope swinging when nothing's moving. A shadow at the far end of the bridge. Voices whispering just behind your ear. In 1975, a maintenance crew repainting the bridge reported something even stranger. 3 workers, middle of the day. One stepped back and looked up, and for a split second he swore he saw feet dangling. When he blinked, nothing. But when they finished painting, they noticed a spot near the roof beams. No paint stuck there, as if something or someone had been swinging in the way. Paranormal groups who investigated recorded EVPs of choking sounds, a male voice saying, "Help me get down," and a female voice whispering, "It wasn't me." Skeptics claim it's wood contracting, wind, acoustics, but the bridge doesn't sit over open water, and it doesn't move like that, unless someone is moving it. And then there's the part no one wants to say out loud. Some who hear the rope, hear it follow them home. It starts quiet, a creak, a sway, in the hallway, in the trees outside, in the attic. It fades, but it never quite stops. A former sheriff put it like this: I don't care how brave you are, you don't drive through Jericho after midnight. You don't stop, and you sure as hell don't look up. Today, the bridge is still open. Tourists visit. Photos get posted, but the locals know it's not the bridge that's haunted, it's the air beneath it. Some echoes hang in the air, others are locked behind doors. And not far from here, there's an asylum where doors don't match the floor plans. And some of them were never meant to open again.
What do you mean not far from there?
The Montrose Asylum files, patients who were erased. Some buildings hold echoes. This one holds names no one remembers anymore. Montrose, a school, a rehabilitation center, an asylum. Officially, it opened in 1922 as the Montrose School for Girls, a place for troubled youth sent by the state. But behind the stone walls and the iron gates, Montrose was something else. A place designed not to heal, but to forget. The records start clean. Admissions, transfer papers, behavior reports until they don't. Between 1930 and 1965, at least 47 girls were listed as transferred to other facilities. But when journalists pulled the follow-up files in 1971, there were no transfer records. No arrival dates, no destinations. Just a single line stamped across each file. Relocated, authorization 17A. An authorization code that doesn't exist anywhere. Urban explorers who broke into the ruins in the late 90s found something even worse. A basement door that wasn't on any blueprint. Behind it, a staircase that leads down and then just stops. No room, no exit, just dead concrete. But the walls down there are strange, covered in deep gouges, marks that don't look like tools. Some horizontal, some mud vertical, some look like handprints. There's more. Multiple visitors report the same phenomenon. Doors that lead to bricked walls, rooms that appear larger inside than outside, hallways that don't match the building's floor plan. One explorer in 2004 described walking into a hallway that was impossibly long, nearly 40 meters, when the blueprints show the wall should have been 13 meters. When he turned around, the door was gone. He eventually found a way back. When he returned with a second team the next day, the hallway wasn't there anymore. Locals whisper that the basement wasn't just storage, it was a holding wing for patients who weren't fixable. In 2011, drone thermal scans of the property, part of a documentary that was never released, picked up something no one expected. Heat signatures, in the ruins, in the basement, in a building with no power since 1987. When the film crew returned 2 weeks later to investigate, the property was fenced. Signs were posted. Federal property, no trespassing. Overnight. No one ever admitted who put the signs up. It wasn't local law enforcement, and it wasn't the county. A former maintenance worker interviewed anonymously in 1999 said this: "There were places in that building even staff weren't allowed to go, and the ones who did, they didn't talk about it. Not because they weren't supposed to, because they couldn't." Today the ruins still stand, windows shattered, doors rotted, but the basement still sealed. And anyone who stands at the edge of that stairwell will tell you the same thing. It feels like something is still listening, something that remembers the names, as even if the files don't. Some names were erased from paper, others were erased from the shorelines. And deep in the bay, there's a lighthouse, still standing, still lit, and sometimes sending signals that no one should be receiving. The vanishing light of Point Lookout, signals from the other side. Some lights guide ships home, others guide them somewhere else. Point Lookout Lighthouse, a lonely outpost on the edge of Chesapeake Bay. It was built to save lives, but now it only remembers the ones it couldn't. In the 1860s, during the Civil War, this place wasn't just a lighthouse, it was a hospital, a prison. Over 4,000 Confederate soldiers died here, not in battle, but from starvation, disease, neglect, and the shoreline became a mass grave. Locals started noticing it first. Lights, far out in the water, moving, blinking. Not boats, not flares, not anything that should be there. In 1973, a Coast Guard officer stationed at Point Lookout reported a distress signal on emergency marine radio channels. The voice was faint, male, repeating coordinates, just off the coast. When patrols arrived, there was no ship, no wreck, no debris, nothing but fog and a light in the water. The voice kept broadcasting for 3 more hours, but when the recordings were analyzed, no one could understand the language. Not English, not Morse code, not anything registered in radio databases. This wasn't a one-time event. From 1970 to 2008, at least 17 emergency calls were received from the waters around Point Lookout. All had the same details. Lights appearing in heavy fog, voices calling for help. No vessels ever found. Visitors to the lighthouse itself report even stranger things. Footsteps when standing alone. Doors slamming upstairs. In a building with no second floor. Cold spots. Sudden, freezing air, even on 90-degree summer days. In 1992, a team of paranormal investigators set up thermal cameras and EVP recorders overnight. At 2:13 a.m., they captured a voice. Clear, unmistakable. It said, "Get out of the water, they're coming back." When asked who they were, the EVP responded, "You know, today Coast Guard and Navy patrols still avoid the area during certain tides. Not officially, but unofficially, because sometimes the lights move toward you." A former radio operator shared this before retiring. It's not the voices that scare you. It's when the static turns into breathing. You know someone's there, but there's nothing on radar. The lighthouse itself is now a museum. Tours, photos, gift shops. But locals know the truth. Point Lookout isn't just haunted. It's listening. The light still turns, the water still moves. And sometimes the signals still come through, but if you ever hear them, don't answer. Some mysteries are buried underground. Some vanish into the trees. Some echo from the beams above. And some drift beneath the water, waiting for someone foolish enough to listen. But one thing's always true. Maryland never wanted you to know. Not because it wasn't real, but because it was. The tunnels sealed for a reason. The trails that go silent. The altar that never collapsed. The bridge that remembers the rope. The asylum that still knows the names. And the light, still blinking from the other side. But these are just the ones we managed to find. The question is, where do we go next? Because if Maryland hides this much, what's buried in the rest of America? Tell me in the comments. Which state should we uncover next? The most requested one will be the next door we open.
Blade max control. Adjustable.
I feel that was like very you said you at the beginning of the video it said that you'd never look at Maryland the same way. Wrong. I still look at it as home. There's just now more creepy stuff that I learned about now, which is interesting. I already knew about one of them. Probably another. I missed a couple of them because I had to go do something. But yeah, not a bad video. And that would be it. This is gonna be the next video. It's gonna be even longer, way longer. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one.